Dotted around every map of the finals are random objects that you can pick up and launch wherever you like, and you can even attach C4 to them and make them explode. Now what you may have also noticed are these coloured canisters all over the place that do different things if destroyed. So in this video I'll be explaining what each of those canisters actually do and how you can make use of them. But before I do get into that, make sure you are subscribed to the channel with the notification bell turned on to never miss a piece of the finals content. I'm going to be grinding the game a lot over the next few months, and it's going to be one of my main focuses on this channel next year, so make sure you do stick around. So in total there are 5 canisters, and they are pink, grey, orange, red and green. The first 2 of those 5 are passive, with the other 3 being capable of inflicting damage upon players and 1 even on buildings. Starting off with the pink canister though, this is one of the passive ones that when thrown it will create a wall of goo upon explosion. So it is essentially the exact same thing as a goo grenade, but all you need to do is pick it up and throw it, or you can just shoot it. So even if you don't have goo grenades equipped, you can still use them. Now these goo walls are super useful for a number of things. Personally, I like to use them if I have an objective nearby, as it means I can grab the canister and chuck it down next to it, thus hindering enemy players from reaching the objective so easily. Goo walls can also be great for covering your escape in a tight situation, as in an instant it will change the environment you're in pretty quickly. So even if it buys you just an extra second of time, that is sometimes all you need to turn a bad situation into something that works for you. The second and final passive canister is the grey one, and in game it's called powder, but it's essentially a smoke screen that covers a very small area. Now personally this is the canister that I use the least, but there is absolutely no doubting its usefulness. For example, if you have a downed teammate, then you can easily use one of these powder canisters like a smoke grenade to run in and pick up your teammate's idol and take it somewhere safe to revive, or of course you could revive in the smoke screen, but that does provide an element of risk. And if you're in a gunfight, it could also provide useful means of escape for you. But perhaps the most useful thing, and something I didn't know until I was making this video, is that the powder canisters can actually extinguish fires. So if you ever see a fire on your objective or your goo walls, so if you don't have smoke grenades but there is a powder canister nearby, you can just use one of those and it will very quickly extinguish the fire. So they are the 2 passive canisters, and the first lethal one is orange. Now the orange canister is flammable, which means upon explosion it creates a small area of fire that will deal damage to players within it, but as it's fire it will also set fire to and destroy goo walls and even clouds of toxic gas. Fire is a super useful tool in the finals that I honestly don't think enough players make use of, and as it destroys gas, goo and hurts players, using fire to take on objectives is the perfect way to attack. But obviously it will stick around for a bit of time, so even if you do clear away the enemies, you may well have to wait a few seconds extra before you can actually deposit or steal the cash. Next is the red canister, which you've probably guessed is explosive. Now this canister is definitely the one I find the most fun to use, as first of all it shoots out in the direction you aim due to the air pressure in the canister, and then after a little bit of time it will explode. Now due to it exploding, it can be super useful against enemy players, as that does obviously inflict damage to them, but I found it's not necessarily a huge amount, and they are ultimately best for destroying structures and therefore unleveling the playing fields or opening up new ways to reach the objective. Finally, we have the green canister, which I'm convinced you all know by now creates a small cloud of toxic gas. Like the orange flammable canister, this is super useful on objectives as it inflicts pretty high damage to players, so entering one is always a risk, and probably more so than the fire. So if you're defending and there's enemies nearby, chucking down a green canister or even just a gas grenade is super useful on the objective, as it might deter them from actually going for it. With that being said though, fire will destroy it, so you do have to be very careful with that. But they are all 5 of the canisters within the finals. One last thing to take note of as well is there are boxes in the sky hanging down from the ceiling, and they are all color coded as well, so they all carry a bunch of canisters depending on the color. So if you shoot down that box, which I'm pretty sure is just a 1 bullet, they will then drop, and upon impact with the floor they will likely explode and do their associated thing depending on the color. So if it's a pink box, it will drop 5 or 6 goo canisters, which will then explode and create some weird amalgamation of goo, and the same goes for the other canisters as well, so that is also something very useful to bear in mind. The finals is a super fast and fun first person shooter, but it is also super tactical as well, so keeping these canisters in the back of your mind is honestly one of the biggest tips that I can give you, as they genuinely are so useful, and I don't think a huge amount of players really make use of them. Now if you want to see any other tips or explanations on this game on this channel, then please do let me know in the comments and subscribe for more. That is going to be it from me today though. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.